Hi everyone, Christina here, and I'm so happy to be back with a new juicer comparison video with you today. We are gonna be comparing the new Nama J2 juicer with the new Hurom juicer. So many of you have asked me for this video, so here I am to deliver. And what makes this video so unique and so special is that both Nama and Hurom have both recently come out with their new juicer models. And both of these machines are literally two of a kind. There are no other juicers in the world that have this self-feeding or this automatic loading technology. Nama and Hurom are the only two companies to come out with this technology right now. So this is gonna be a very interesting and cool comparison to see how both of these compare. I do believe that these are the next generation of juicers. This is the future of juicing. The main complaints that I hear people discuss or share with me when talking about juicing is, oh, it takes too much time, it takes too much prep work, I hate cleaning the machine, I don't have time to juice. And both of these machines, to a degree, aim to tackle those problems to make juicing more accessible for you. But the question is, which one of these juicers does it better? Which juicer saves you more money? Which one makes it easier for you to juice more? Which one is easier to clean? Which one has a higher yield? Which one yields the best quality juice for you? So today we're gonna be comparing both of these juicers in detail. So grab some juice, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Since so many of you have been asking me to compare Nama with Hurom, I want to make this very clear. I am in no way trying to make one juicer look better than another or worse than another here. My goal with this video is to simply help you make a more educated decision when purchasing a high ticket item juicer for your home. Investing in one of these juicers is a big deal, and I wanna help you make the right decision for you. The goal is to get everyone juicing. We want everyone to be consuming more plant-based foods. We want everyone to be consuming more fruits and vegetables. And the way that I look at it, the fact that we have new, better, more options right now to create fresh juice is a plus for all of us. I wanted to make sure that I said that to you because it's important to me that this video has a positive vibe. Ultimately, I just want to help you make the best decision for you so that you can select a juicer that inspires you to get out of bed in the morning and make some juice. So like I said right now, both of these machines are the only two machines out right now of their kind. They're machines that have an automatic loading hopper at the top or a self-feeding hopper. I have so many juicer comparison videos on my channel that you can check out. And what is cool about this one is this is the first time that I'm comparing two similar models. Before, I've compared centrifugal juicers with horizontal juicers and the Nama Vitality 5800, or I've compared both Namas, but this is the first time I'm comparing similar models. This is gonna be cool. As most of you know, I've had a Nama juicer in my kitchen for over 2 years now, and I love my Nama. I am a bit partial, but none the same, I'm going to be non-biased here. However, I do want to let you know that Nama is offering a special $55 off their new J2 juicer just for you, for those of you watching this video, and the code is FullyRaw55 at checkout. So if you end up watching this video and you end up liking the Nama juicer, you can use FullyRaw55 to get $55 off the J2 juicer. I've included that link below for you, so please check it out and enjoy. I'm gonna be juicing and comparing celery, carrots, and pineapple in this video, just to be able to show a wide range of differences when it comes to greens, vegetables, and fruit. Also because so many people juice celery, so you have to know that this machine can do celery well. Carrots are a root vegetable that can be difficult. They have a lot of pulp, don't always yield a lot of juice, so you gotta know that a machine can handle carrots. And one of the most difficult fruits for any juicer to handle is pineapple. So of course, you know I've got pineapple on this table because it's a great indicator as to whether or not you have a good juicer. So we've got pineapple here. From the information I've been able to gather, there are 5 main differences when it comes to both of these juicers. So let's first talk about the big differences, and then we'll get into the smaller comparison items as well. So let's talk about the biggest difference, and the biggest difference here is price. The Hurom juicer is $699. This machine right here is a $700 juicer. The new Nama J2 is $550. That is a $150 difference between both of these machines. $150 difference between both of these machines is a big deal, especially when we're talking about their capabilities and what each of these machines can do, especially if you're trying to save money. The second biggest difference that I've been able to gather from both of these juicers is that the Nama juicer can make plant-based milks. You can make almond milk, cashew milk, mac nut milk, coconut milk. You can make all different types of milks in this juicer. And for those of us who are plant-based, that's a big deal to be able to make your own nut milks. That being said, the Hurom juicer cannot make nut milks. The third biggest difference that I've been able to notice or gather is that the Nama J2 juicer can batch juice while the Hurom juicer cannot. So for those of you who aren't familiar with batch juicing, for someone like me who's been a raw vegan for 16 years, who batch juices all the time, what that means is I like to make a lot of juice at one time. So for me, being able to batch juice is important because I'll make 6, 7, sometimes 10 jars of juice at a time, and I'll store them to be able to drink throughout the week. The Nama J2 juicer can handle making copious amounts of juice. It can make 10 jars of juice at a time with no problem. This leads me into my number 4 biggest difference, which is the difference in their strainers. Now, one of the reasons why this machine cannot make nut milks and why it can't batch juice is because it has a different strainer. Now, the Nama J2 juicer has a stainless steel strainer inside. And this machine actually comes with 2 different strainers. It has one for juicing and one for making smoothies. So it can do juices and smoothies. And the stainless steel strainer is amazing. Now, that being said, it is a little bit more difficult to clean, but not really that much more difficult to clean. It's the same as all their other juicers, and it's the standard, I would say, for most juicers. In comparison, the new Hurom juicer has what I like to call a 2-sleeve strainer here. It doesn't have those small holes. It has a very unique strainer here, I would say. And because of the strainer, the machine is just not designed to batch juice, nor is it designed to yield nut milks for you. Now, that being said, the benefit to this strainer is supposedly that it's supposed to be a little easier to clean. But for me, I think having 2 pieces to clean is a little bit more challenging than having 1 piece to clean. So I leave that up to you to decide which strainer might be easier, more preferable for you. And the 5th biggest difference that I've been able to gather and that you will be able to see later on in this video is that I have been able to experience, see, and taste that there is noticeably more pulp that comes out of the Hurom juicer than from the Nama juicer. And this actually makes sense because this strainer here doesn't have small holes that filters out a lot of the pulp or fiber. And maybe perhaps this machine was intended for you to have more pulp or fiber in your juice. But that being said, I am a person who likes my juices smooth. If you've watched many of my YouTube videos and you see, I always double strain my juices because I like the texture of a smooth juice. The Nama has way less pulp in its juice, to whereas the Hurom juicer has a very, I don't want to say pulpy juice, but it's definitely a thicker juice. So those were my 5 big differences between these juicers. For some of you, those comparisons might be enough to help you make an educated decision, but I would like to go through some smaller differences or comparisons as well. To some of you, my tiny comparisons might seem a bit insignificant, but for someone like me who spends a lot of time juicing in the kitchen, these tiny details make a big difference for me. So let's first start with the on and off button, or the front knob. As you can see, the Nama here has a knob in the front of the machine that you can clearly see, and you just turn it on, off, or backwards. Pretty straightforward. The Hurom, the on and off button is actually in the back of the machine, and I'll have to turn this around to show you. But if you have your machine front facing in your kitchen, you're gonna have to kind of dig around or reach around with your fingers, feel around back, and just make sure that it's there. It's not easily visible for you to be able to turn your juicer on and off. Now, I'm not sure why they put the on and off button in the back of the machine. Maybe they just felt like it looked nicer. But I just know that you're gonna have to reach around your machine and grab it and turn it on and off when you're juicing. For me, it's a significant detail. Another tiny difference or comparison that I've noticed has been with the pulp containers. Now, This one here does get me a little bit riled up, and I know I'm supposed to be non-biased, but for someone like me who juices a lot, having a machine that can get rid of its pulp easily and make that process as clean and simple for you as possible is necessary, because the last thing you want is pulp all over your counter. Having explosions of pulp in your kitchen can be a disaster. Nobody wants that. That being said, the Nama J2 has a very visible pulp container on the side right here. It's a pretty nice size, and I can make 3, 4, 5 jars of juice, and this container will be big enough to catch all of that pulp. And it just comes out right here. And if I need to pour out more, boom, no problem. And if I ever need to, I can just take my hand or a spoon and push it down more. You know, I can work with the pulp a little bit. Something different about this Hurom juicer, and I'm gonna have to turn this around to show you, is that its pulp container is in the back of the machine. Can you see this? This, for me, is challenging for multiple reasons. Number one, this is a very tiny container. I look at this, I'm like, this is really made for 16 ounces of juice, essentially. Maximum 32 ounces of juice. The second reason is because it's in the back of the machine, you can't see when it's filling up. So imagine if you're juicing and this just fills up, and then the machine, who knows what happens when it fills up with too much pulp and you don't take it out. Then I remember this machine isn't meant for batch juicing, it's meant for just 16 ounces, maximum 32 ounces at a time. So for me, I just think that having the pulp container in the back of the machine is very inconvenient. I can see why they did it, because they wanted to keep probably the design clean, and they wanted to keep, you know, the juice coming out front to have it look nicer, but I just don't think this is very practical for most people. So yes, that's a huge difference between both of these machines, as the Nama has one pulp container that comes out the side, and the Hurom has the pulp container that is in the back, and it's much smaller and you can't see it. Next difference, let's talk about the base sizes. As you can see here, the Nama has this square base. You can detach the top of this, wash it, and you can store both of these pieces separately. You can put these away in a drawer. It's just, this is easier to store. You can easily stack these, put them anywhere in your house. A big difference with the Hurom is that this is just one solid machine. Now you can see here it has one linear sturdy base right here. This machine actually does feel a bit heavier. It feels a little bit more hefty in the kitchen. It just feels like a more heavy duty machine. That being said, make sure you have the countertop space or the cabinet space, under the cabinet space, to be able to store something like this, because the most that you will be able to do is remove this from the base. You won't be able to fold this and put this away anywhere. So these are two very different bases. As far as the motors go, I think they are fairly similar. We're gonna find out when we juice. And speaking about the machines, the hopper handles on both of these are quite different. The Hurom juicer has harder edges on the handle, to whereas the Nama juicer has an enclosed handle, kind of like a Vitamix. It's just softer to the touch. Something else that might be significant to some of you is the Nama cord is detachable, which means you can take this cord, roll it away, store the machine, and you know, the cord is not attached to the body of the machine. To whereas with the Hurom, you cannot detach the cord, so when it comes to the machine, it might make cleaning it a little more difficult, it might make storing it a little more difficult, or maybe you just know where you're gonna have this in your home and you leave it there and you don't move it. A noticeable difference between these two is you might be able to see that the hopper on the Hurom is much darker than the hopper on the Nama. And it makes it a little bit more difficult for you to see what's actually going on in your juicer when juicing, to whereas you can actually see how some things are moving in here. You can actually see what's going on a little bit easier in here. Another noticeable difference that I can see is that the Nama juicer lid actually has this concave shape that when you put things in, you can see that it will funnel in without spilling. And this is helpful for when you're making nut milks. You don't have things that spill everywhere. The lid here, I don't wanna break this, so I'm not gonna do that, but the lid here on the Hurom has just a very flat lid. There's no concave kind of design here, so it's just a flat top, essentially. As I mentioned before, the J2 has 2 strainers, one for the juice and one for the smoothie, right? The smoothie one has larger holes in it. The Hurom juicer comes with 2 strainers, but it's a little bit more confusing on when to use them because they're 2 juicing strainers made for juicing. So I have not actually read up on the differences between how to use the juicing strainers differently, but this is what they look like. Very different from the Nama, as you can see. For those of you interested in differences via the warranty, the Nama comes with a 15-year warranty. The Hurom comes with a 10-year warranty. For those of you who like unboxing experiences, I will have to say that Nama put a great amount of time, detail, and care into their boxing process. I don't know if some of you have seen my unboxing that I did for them, but they have painted apples and fruits on their boxes, and they clearly have every single piece labeled and fit into their box in such a beautiful way. The unboxing experience from Nama is priceless. I've never seen any other juicer company do that before, and I think it's a special touch. As far as Hurom goes, when I received their box, it was kind of like just receiving any other juicer. Here's a little clip of what mine looked like when I opened it. The base was in there, and then there was just a second box on top that had the rest of the parts in there too, with its user manual. Nama is a USA-based company. Their customer service teams are here and wonderful, and I have seen this company grow from the ground up. For those of you who aren't familiar with how Nama got started, or their founders, Dan Sheehan and Joe Cross, my good friend Joe the Juicer, it's just an inspiring and beautiful story as to how this juicer was created and their missions, their goals, their statements. It's just beautiful. So I just want to say I love the Nama team. The people there are just so lovely and so kind and so caring, and it really means a lot to me that I can message a USA-based company. Hurom is based in Korea, so if you ever have any replacement parts needed, because their main company is based overseas, I'm not sure about what it looks like to get replacement items or whatnot, but I do know their company is based overseas. So those were my big and small comparisons when simply discussing the differences of these 2 machines, and I hope that was helpful to you. But now on to the real test. We are going to juice celery, carrots, and pineapple, and we're gonna see what these juicers can do. We're going to let these juicers speak for themselves. Are you ready? We are first gonna start with the most difficult item, pineapple. I have cut and weighed exactly 1 pineapple, exactly the same amount for each of these juicers to see how they do. Now, something to keep in mind is I'm pretty sure each of these has a similar motor, so the yield will be the same. I'm gonna be looking out for more than just how much they yield. I'm gonna be looking at how easy it is to juice with them, the pulp. I'm gonna be looking at all different factors. So with that being said, let's get started. As we turn on the juicers, let's see if they have a similar sound to them. Here's the Hurom. Quiet, super quiet, pleasant. Here's the Nama. The Nama is noticeably a little bit louder. All right, so I'm just gonna start loading each hopper and we'll make some juice. All right, so we've got the Hurom and we've got the Nama side by side. I don't know if you can see this, but there's noticeably more pulp at the top collecting from the Hurom than from the Nama. Do you see that? I'll go ahead and I'll strain the Nama juice first. Look at that, barely any pulp. Ooh, 32 ounces to be exact. Let's go ahead now and strain the juice from the Hurom. There is noticeably more pulp. I don't know if you can see this, but definitely more pulp in the top. Can you see this? Definitely some wet pulp there. I would say that there is a little bit less juice from the Hurom than from the Nama, but that's because I strained out the pulp, right? Considering the differences, they are very similar, almost exactly the same in terms of that. Now let's look at pulp. My pulp here, super dry from the Nama. Amazing, easy to clean up. Taking out the back here, also very dry. Comes out in a different way, but this pulp is super dry as well. You always know how good a juicer is by being able to tell how dry the pulp is. Both of these juicers have yielded extremely dry pulp, so that's a good sign. All right, so now for the final taste. Let's give these a little try. Are you ready? Fresh pineapple juice, so good. Okay, now from the Hurom. They taste exactly the same. They taste exactly the same because these are both slow cold press juicers. Delicious, but as you can see, and as the foam begins to calm a little bit, you can see there is a tiny noticeable difference in the amounts. But ultimately, they both did fantastic with pineapple. So, good job, machines, good job. Next up, we're juicing celery. We've got both juices here. Looks like they did about the same amount. I can see still noticeably more pulp coming from the Hurom than the Nama. I'm first going to strain the juice from the Nama and pour it, and then I'll do the Hurom. All right, so I just have to say, this is noticeably way more pulp. Can you see that? That is a lot more pulp. Oh, that is a lot more pulp in there. All right, so we've got a solid comparison here. The Nama yielded more celery juice than the Hurom juicer. The Nama had less pulp than the Hurom juicer. Quick taste test. Celery juice. Yum. They both taste amazing. They both taste the same. Really, really nice celery juice. Highest quality celery juice ever from both of these machines. They both get an A++ on taste. As far as pulp goes, this is how much pulp came out of the Nama. But it's kind of hard to gauge pulp right now because a lot of pulp came out of the actual juice in the second strain than here. But they both yielded a super dry pulp, right? So it is more difficult to gauge pulp in this aspect because there was a lot of pulp that I strained for a second time that came out of the Hurom here. So I decided to do a little clean through by pouring water through each of the juicers before I do my carrots, just so that the carrots don't come out a weird color. And I will say this, water pours more easily and flows into this hopper than this one. I had a big spill on this side of the Hurom. I also think it's worth noticing right now that a lot of, I don't want to say juicing aftermath is something you can see here in this container, but the Nama remains fairly clean. And last but not least, we're doing carrots. Let's begin. All right, so I just have to say, juicing with the Hurom right here was a unpleasant experience just because there was so much pulp. You could see it getting caught in the auger and it was coming out chunky. Also, the back end just kept filling up with carrot pulp. And it is kind of messy, as you can see. This juicer definitely was not designed for juicing copious amounts of carrots. It looks like the Nama yielded a bit more right here. Let's go ahead and strain first the carrot juice from the Nama. You can see the pulp here, not too much, not too much. Now we're gonna strain the carrot juice from the Hurom. Oh my gosh. There is a lot of carrot pulp left over here. I don't know if you can see this. That is a lot of carrot pulp. I would say that this machine here definitely doesn't like carrots. It's a lot of leftover pulp. As you can see here, the Hurom probably yielded about half as much as the Nama did. There was double the amount of juice from the Nama juicer. And I would just say that for several reasons, pulp, ease, just in general, the Nama won hands down in terms of carrot juice. Let's give them a try though. Yum. Yum. They do taste the same. So I've placed all of the juices here so we can do one final summary. We first juiced the pineapples and both machines did a fantastic job with the pineapple, which is very difficult to do for any regular juicer, so you know that these are top of the line juicers. The Nama yielded slightly more and had less pulp in the juice. The Hurom yielded slightly less, it had a little bit more pulp in the juice. Ultimately, they tasted the same and it came out great quality. Next up, we juiced celery. The Nama J2 yielded noticeably more celery juice than the Hurom, and the Hurom did have a bit more pulp in it, and that seems to be kind of the consistent thread that I'm seeing, is that there's just more pulp in their juice. Both had similar amounts of pulp come out the back or on the side, and they both tasted amazing. The most significant difference that I saw was from juicing the carrots, and hands down, the J2 won. It's clear to me that this machine can handle making larger amounts of juice. It can handle more being put into the machine. And we know that because initially I said this juicer is made for batch juicing and this one is not. So the Nama yielded double the amount of carrot juice than the Hurom. And as you saw from the footage, the carrot pulp got really stuck in the machine. It built up the back. Juicing carrots did not go smoothly with this machine, whereas it was effortless with the J2. That being said, I think looking at the aftermath of these hoppers can tell us a lot about how these machines process these vegetables as well, and also cleanup time. I'm probably not gonna spend that much time cleaning this machine, whereas I look at this and I'm like, this is gonna take me a good chunk of time to clean tonight. I believe that you can infer that if this machine had a difficult time with carrots, it will also have a difficult time with other root vegetables like beets. I do also worry about tougher vegetables or leafy greens like kale. I do wonder how it would do with something like kale. I can imagine something a little bit along the lines of this case scenario happening with more leafy greens in it, whereas some of you have seen me juice leafy greens, no problem, hoppers full of kale with the J2. Ultimately, the quality of the juice across the board tastes the same. Both of these juicers are fantastic juicers. I wanna make sure that I'm really saying that because these are top of the line juicers. They're slow, cold press juicers. These juices will last for days in a sealed tight container. They're made to make juices that will last you longer. And wrapping this up, the most noticeable differences that I was able to see in my process of juicing was that the Hurom continuously had more pulp in the juice. That's a big deal. And also the back hopper filling up with the pulp, that's a big deal for me. And also that the Nama had less pulp in the juice and it can batch juice. In other words, it can just make larger amounts of juice with more ease and less mess. If we go back to the 5 main differences that I spoke about in the beginning of this video, my number 1 was price. The Hurom is $150 more than the J2. The Nama J2 can make nut milks and the Hurom cannot. The J2 can batch juice and make large amounts of juice at a time with ease, as we have seen, and the Hurom cannot. Strainers are different. There's a stainless steel strainer in the J2, and there's a 2-part plastic sieve in the Hurom juicer. There's way less pulp in this juice and way more pulp in this juice. USA-based company, not USA-based, 15-year warranty, 10-year warranty. Those for me are the big comparison points here. In the end of these videos, I always share with you which juicer I think won. Now, of course, that's up for personal debate or personal preference. But as you can see, both of these juicers did an amazing job, right? They both almost yielded the same. The results were nearly almost the same. That being said, I still give my winning vote to Nama simply because it's easier to use, it does more, it's a less expensive price point, it yielded more across the board, and just the scenario with carrots would have been enough for me to choose this juicer over that one. That is not to say that the Hurom is not a wonderful juicer. It is a fantastic juicer and it is still top of the line. I hope me sharing this in-depth comparison with you today has been able to give you a little bit of insight into how I juice and what I'm looking for when I'm looking for the absolute best juicer to inspire me in my kitchen. Are you inspired to juice yet? I hope so. I hope that this video made you real thirsty and you're in your kitchen juicing with me right now. For those of you who are interested in checking out the Nama J2 juicer, I have linked all of the information below for you. They have a special $55 off sale happening right now if you use the code FullyRaw55 at checkout. And again, that is linked below for you, and enjoy. I wanna thank you all so much for joining me in this video today. I really hope this has been helpful. Please let me know if you have liked this video, if you would like me to do more comparison videos for you, or any other feedback that you have in the comments. I appreciate you so much for being here. I love the community we have built around juicing, and it just makes me so excited to juice. So I just wanna thank you all so much for being here. I may or may not have a new video coming up with my 98-year-old grandpa next week, and he's gonna be sharing his tips and tricks for longevity, and we're gonna be juicing in the kitchen together. So please stay tuned for that video. We're gonna have so much fun. For those of you interested in juicing recipes, you can download my Fully Raw Recipe app. I have tons of juicing recipes on my app. It's available on iTunes and Google Play, and those links are below for you as well. Thank you again so much for joining me in this video today. It has been an honor and pleasure to share this time with you. Sending you all my hugs and my love, and I'll see you in my next video.